Add the feedback. Yes, is this on? Tap, tap.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in.
It's going.
All right. For those of you who are watching from the internet, we have a full house here tonight. Standing room only, as you can tell, I'm standing. Our last Grow meeting was a bit stiff because we kind of approached it as a business meeting, only giving people 5 minutes to speak. So we're going to do it differently tonight and in the future. Now, if there's something that needs to be communicated, then we ask you to share it in a spiritual manner, like maybe a Bible verse that you connect it with, or tell us a little story, brief, about why this is important and why you think the Lord is giving you this idea. I'd like to share that Christy Ronk said that she has a vision for 2 more murals made by the youth during Vacation Bible School, and maybe that would be spread over 2 years, and she has those pictures, and I will post those in a Facebook message on the Bell Road page. But I'd like to open tonight's Grow meeting, and we're really calling this Grow Worship, with this verse from 1 Corinthians chapter 14, 26. And we talked about divisions in the church that Paul mentioned in 1 Corinthians 1 and in 3 and chapter 11. By the time he got around to the last chapter, 16, he wasn't talking about division anymore. He was talking about the way he does it. But in chapter 14, verse 26, Paul says this: "How is it then, brethren, when you come together, every one of you hath a psalm, hath a doctrine, hath a tongue, hath a revelation, hath an interpretation. Let all things be done unto edifying." Now, that sounds kind of like King James English to me. But what that really means is that when you come together, bring something to the table. And so we come expectantly. I think there's a man in our midst that whenever we are asked for a volunteer, is there anybody that had anything to share? Maybe you can think of such a person in your church. They would always be able to come up with something to testify, well, this happened this week, and this is how I connect it with my life in Christ. Well, maybe you're one that hasn't ever spoken up in a church service before. The purpose of the Grow meeting is for us to communicate with one another. And even if there's somebody that can't be here, let's just say they overworked themselves on the Lord's Day, singing in a choir somewhere or something, and they're just really tired and don't come to the Grow meeting, the Grow worship service. Well, they might tune in to Facebook and hear the message and be able to hear you, to hear, again, Christy's idea of 2 youth murals. And my idea that maybe you would say, well, I don't have much to say tonight, but there's a song that's really on my heart, and I'd just like to put it in the record, that I heard it on the radio or something. I'd like to see us singing that in some way, in some venue, either through the guitar circle or one of the 2 morning services, or one of our worship leaders on Sunday night would do it. And I suppose that could happen tonight. If there's a song on your heart, maybe we could, between us, work out the ability to sing that song. So be thinking, like at a funeral service where I'll tell the people, the family is opening the floor. If there's anybody that'd like to share a story that would bring some sort of comfort or would celebrate the life of the person, think about it, give us some time, think about it, and you'll have that opportunity. I want you to know that there will be a few times in tonight's service where you'll see this slide about Grow, giving God our best, reaching in as we reach out, overcoming every obstacle, and working together with God. If you have an idea you'd like to share, or pick up on an idea that you heard somebody pray about, then you will be able to, whenever you see that slide in between songs, that'll be the opportunity for open mic. All right? And you might think, well, there's only a few people here, and there's not much in the way of movers and shakers. We can't get much done on Sunday night. Well, we're going to have a prayer meeting after this, and we will certainly be praying about everything that was mentioned here. And so, with that, I give you into the hands of Kyla.
I had on my heart, what's it called? Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4, I think. And it was, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and strength or soul. Anyway, but Dylan was teaching the girls that, and then Young Marrieds, they brought it up, and then I think Dan brought it up in the Matthew version. So I was like, that's a cool verse. Anyway, that's been on my heart, so that's a start, right? God is my shepherd, I won't be be wanting. I won't be wanting. He makes me rest in fields of green and quiet streams. Even though I walk through the valley of death and light, I will not fear, as you are with me. You're always with me. Your shepherd sad comforts me. You are my peace in the presence of enemies. Surely goodness follow me in the house of God forever. God is my shepherd, I won't be wanting, I won't be wanting. He makes me rest in fields of green, a quiet streams. Even though I walk through the valley of death and dying, I will not fear, 'cause you are with me. You're always with me. Your shepherd's staff comforts me. You are my peace in the presence of enemies. Surely goodness follow me in the house of God forever. House of God forever. House of God forever. That was one I thought about. We fall down, we lay our crowns at the feet of Jesus. The greatness of His mercy and love at the feet of Jesus. And we cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, abounds to all who found the feet of Jesus. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy is the Lamb. Is the Lamb. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy is the Lamb. Is the Lamb.
Amen. And late were those who just couldn't understand King James. 1 Corinthians 14, verse 26. What then shall we say, brothers? When you come together, everyone has a hymn or a word of instruction, a revelation, a tongue or an interpretation. All these must be done for the strengthening of the church. If anyone speaks in a tongue, 2 or at the most 3 should speak, one at a time, and someone must interpret. If there's no interpreter, the speaker should keep quiet in the church and speak to himself and God. 2 or 3 prophets should speak, and the others should weigh carefully what is said. And if a revelation comes to someone who's sitting down, the first speaker should stop. For you can all prophesy in turn, so that everyone may be instructed and encouraged. The spirits of prophets are subject to the control of prophets. For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. And then it goes into the women should be silent in the church, but we're not going to read that part because we are outnumbered with women tonight. And I believe that the heart of this is that the women at Bell Road Baptist Church have something good to say. And like the daughters of Philip, they can prophesy. And so this is not a confusing place. Everybody's welcome to speak a word of instruction or share something that's on your heart. And if you're an introvert and you're not used to getting up and speaking, we want to give you that time. Share with us what you've been thinking about during your drive time. And then we'll pray about all this when we're done. Is there anybody who'd like to share something you've been thinking about to grow the church?
Well, I wanted to share.
Can you come get on the mic, please? And why don't you just sit there so you can get comfortable and we can get to know you a little bit.
I wanted to share that I explained to Special Ministries this morning about the change that is going to happen, about how this room won't technically be their room, that we're going to make it sort of like a chapel sort of feeling for Doc Patton and for the seniors to be in. I was trying to ease them into a change that's going to happen. The majority of them understand this and have no problem with it. Some of them are very emotionally attached to this room. It's the special ministry room. But I explained to them how we will get to use, what do we call that room back?
600.
The 600 room, that was going to be our new room, and we'd be able to make it special for ourselves. And I explained to them, the tables are always set up there. The chairs are always set up there. We don't have to reconfigure the room every time we come in. I explained to them how, we wouldn't want Joe and Elda, dropping them off at the door here because, the classroom would be in the process of being used and people setting up, and how they would either have to come to the front door or maybe come to the other door in the back there for loading and unloading. And so the majority of them, have grasped the concept that there's going to be a change and something new is going to happen. And like Laura and Wally, Judy, Tammy, they're at a higher level. They really understand, are very enthusiastic about the seniors using their rooms. And but some of the others, Debbie, Joanne, Brenda, they're not quite sure or understand. They don't have a real grasp of what's going on. And so since I'm going to be gone when y'all make this change, I'm really going to need for some of you guys maybe to step forward. If you see somebody having a challenge or having a difficulty or trying to come into this room when they should be in the other room, you just remind them that, it's something new, something different. They're going to have a better room, whatever it is, and help them, work through the change that they're going through. And Delenn's going to be subbing. Jesse's also volunteered to help, and I know Megan might call on some of the other guys to come and sub, because I'm going to be gone at least probably 2 months. And so Summer's going to be doing the videos. A lot of the kids have stepped forward to take over some of the camera work. John, we may not get all the videos up as quickly as we used to, but we will get on it real quick, okay?
Where are you going?
New York. I'm going to Texas for 1 week to see my dad and take care of some of the family business, and then going on to New York.
What's in New York? Babies.
So it's all babies.
All right. And
It's your turn.
Yeah, my
and then
turn.
I think that Delenn's ready. Delen, I don't know what you're going to share, but please share. I wouldn't have necessarily thought about the special folks and their attachment to this room. Whereas if we were to take over the Golden Circle room, I'd be all about preparing them for the change. So thank you for doing that. And whatever you share with us, please also share with us what you observed from the choir loft today, because it has everything to do with this special ministry we have.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. What I want to share has to do with special ministries. It started in BSF this year in lesson 20. We had a lesson about Jesus saying, "Let the little children come to me." And we had really good discussion on it in our class with good questions on our paper too, like who might that include in your life. So I was especially thinking of the children as well as the special people as well as the elderly who have some dementia set in, and just how the attitudes of the disciples were like, okay, they're in the way, and Jesus was the opposite of, no, let him come on to me, let him come here. And so there were some personal questions in that study that I really took to heart, and I started praying about it. And also I've been praying just about that God would speak to me clearly on where to work in the church and where he wants me to be. I know what I'm doing, but do you want me to do something else? Do you want me to make it really clear? And so I really did feel like that lesson, coupled with my first time to be a counselor at Special Ministries this year, Wolf and I got to go together, and even I have to back up from there because I went to children's camp as a counselor, and while I was at children's camp as a counselor, I felt the Lord say, you need to be a counselor for Special Ministries camp. And I knew my daughter needed women counselors. And I was like, God, I can't do that. I have Oma. I don't know how to do that. And then I just didn't tell her. I didn't say anything until it got really close. And then I was thinking, the Lord was like, well, you can bring Oma to it. And so most of you know that we did bring Oma to it, and it was a good experience for her. But for me, it was just so, I loved being there as a counselor with the ladies. And they were so, I got to share, Barb and I were on the end, and we had, I think we had 11 ladies in our care to help make sure they got a bath and got up and dressed and all that. But Carol was on the end by us, and so every night we'd get in bed and she'd chit-chat. We'd have our little chit-chats. And, she kind of exposed her heart in a few places, and she has such a heart for sharing Christ with people and evangelism. And it just really convicted me that we can't just shelf our special people and think that they're not a foot or a body or an eye or part of the body, because they are. And so in all of that, I've heard Patrice for 3 years talking at home, little times here and there, like, we should have special ministries in our VBS. We should have them in our VBS because why don't we? Why don't we have a class for them? Because we have special people that go to camp, but some don't go to camp, but they're in the community and they could come to VBS. So I told Robin 3 weeks ago, I'm like, I'm going to teach special ministries for VBS. And so she is putting a little order in on the side for that material. I think from being at camp with them and just from coming into Christy's class one time, I'm not an expert, but I think, okay, I know, I think I could teach them. I have a spiritual gift to teach, but I wanted to get the book, see what kind of helps. Lifeway does good stuff, and then so I've been praying more recently, like, could they be joined with the adults? Pastor Rob thinks they can. But then I'm thinking, like, more recently, since talking to you, I was talking to, like, Christy about her dreams of doing more art and murals in the church. And I was like, wow, our special people are so talented. I mean, they are so artistic. And so one of the things that we talked about was continuing that, the one in the foyer on the two side walls, where the sunset continues. So like one side would be a sun rising and one side would be a sun setting, and it would be the same colors, so it'd be like a continuation of that piece of art. And and Christy was like, well, I want to do something different with the youth, but she goes, if you're going to do special ministries, they have like so much talent there, they could probably pull that off. And so I just need prayer, like whether Wolf and I should try to teach them with our adults. Last year we only had 7 in the adults only. I think 7's great adults.
Let me say something about VBS, because we did discuss Vacation Bible School in class this morning. Now, what are the hours?
It's evening. It's Monday to Friday, and it's probably going to be
like
5 to 8:30.
5:30, 8:30, something
Yeah.
like that.
And what I got from most of them is that they will not be able to come.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all 2 big reasons. First of all, transportation. But the other reason is those hours, 5 to 8, they're coming home from either school or work or something. They're bathing, they're eating, they're cleaning up, and they're going to bed. Most of these guys are in their rooms, ready for bed by 8:30. And so,
And the next day is a work day.
And the next day is a work day or a school day or something. So, I'm not sure VBS would work for them for those hours. That is something to
also,
contemplate.
something what Patrice and I have talked about is we're not necessarily thinking of our people that come on Sunday morning and that go to camp. She has had so many new people coming to special camp last year.
Yeah.
And we're getting more and more people from individual homes, like from their parents or not, because the system is kind of breaking down. So there's not all the services available that were available. So there is some changes going on. So Patrice said she thought I should just take her contacts and
Go
call
for
through
it.
them.
Yeah, just go for it.
And see, it might not start off being our people. It would be cool if it was, but I understand that with their scheduling and all.
Does that mean you're teaching the adults and the
I don't know yet.
Because you could just, whatever special needs do show up and then also do the adults. So either way, there
Right.
would be a class.
Yeah, but if I'm going to go to the effort to call the care homes,
Yeah.
I kind of like to promote it that, I'm doing it especially focused on them.
Don't you feel like, though, probably if most of the special ministries in our church will be in a routine like that a lot of other ones that don't even go to our church would be in a routine like that?
Maybe not the
Yeah.
ones that are in homes.
Huh.
Yeah, because, not all of them
I
do
don't
go
know.
off to Pride.
I
Yeah.
figured it would be.
I won't know until I call.
Yeah.
And
we'll
even
try.
I feel like God gave
Yeah,
me...
it is something you have to talk to the caretakers
Yeah.
about, because not everyone's on the same schedule, but
Yeah,
those are their
right.
main getting home, getting bathed.
Yeah.
Did they basically all say that?
Yeah,
The
they
ones
all
that-
said
okay.
that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the way camp winds down too.
Too, yeah.
They're tired.
It's understandable.
But I do feel like God opened doors of communication between myself and Joel and Alba, for instance. That's one care home. And we just sat and had wonderful talk when they brought their people and when they picked their people up. And there's been a little more, they came to the last Grow meeting. And there's been a little more support there. I think that some communication would be really good.
Well,
with them.
what I was thinking in the back of my head when it comes to this is, maybe they couldn't do the whole thing, but, if we could do something maybe that was a meal oriented
Yeah,
for
maybe
their,
they could go
they could
5:30 to 7:30.
come here for a meal, have a lesson, then go home. Just changing your schedule from bathing, eating, bed to eating, bathing, bed
Yeah.
wouldn't be as much of a, juggle for them to do.
Christy, do you know that we have food here? That's the first thing we do is eat here.
That VBS.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So that, because I know that's,
that would be a big
Elda,
plug to the care
yeah,
homes.
Elda has
I know that.
always
We've been on.
appreciated that she would not have to cook, and that was her motivation to get them here.
Yeah,
So that is maybe something
Yeah.
that could be,
so, anyway,
arranged.
pray about it with me. I really feel in my heart like any special adult person would add so much joy to our VBS experience. And just being a part of the open welcome rally, I know they would love the open
oh,
rally.
yes.
And so part of me, like having them with adults, they would miss some opportunities to, I don't think they should do the same rotation kind of thing, and I'm anxious to get the material to see how it is. But I do think that the singing part, the singing and movement part, they would love that. So I've already kind of put a bug in Lexi's ear because she wants to do that part.
Maybe if it does work out, they could come to dinner, do the open rally, and then how everybody goes to class right away. Maybe they could just that'd be extra for whoever does music, but just do a music class, and then it would be time to go. Because then they do all the things that would seem like it would be work for them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Just make it work.
So share what you saw in the choir loft.
Oh yeah, this morning was really so cool. I know I'm not the only one that saw it either because I think Alyssa was smiling next to me. But the couple came in that was visiting from Oregon, and they started to walk down the aisle, and Wally stepped over and he put his hand out, shook both of their hands, and before he was done, Laura ran up and she shoved a bulletin between to give him a bulletin, and they were like, oh, thank you. They took the bulletin, and then she stood there with her hand out, and Wally was still talking to them, so she just stood there. And so when he got done talking, they both took her hand and shook her hand, and I was just so proud of them. I was like, they're doing their job, and that's awesome. And the couple was just beaming like, okay, this is cool. So.
Okay, we've got a couple more breaks, but is there somebody else who would like to share right now? Wolfgang?
Break.
What?
I just have a thought that happened. John, you can help me, and Rob, you can help me. It has to do with memory. In a prayer meeting, and I think John and Danielle came to it, and the next day I discussed it at work with John because we had a little discourse. The pastor said in a prayer meeting, a famous quote by a pastor, take what's natural and make it supernatural.
Well, start with natural, then
Start with
then go spiritual.
Then go spiritual, right? And it just clicked. I mean, and I thought about it, and I told John, I said, that's kind of what we can do. If you don't know how to witness, you could start with anything natural and move it to spiritual. That's the gist of that prayer meeting. John's like, well, I didn't take that at all. He's just like the natural man, the flesh, and the spiritual man. And it was just like one comment could be taken in a prayer meeting two different ways. And because Paul said to try to be all things to all men, to win some. And at Mars Hill, he went to Mars Hill, and they had a statue there, an idol to the unknown God. And they never had the background of the Jewish religion from Adam and Eve through the Old Testament and the law and stuff. Those people, they didn't have that. It was missing. And so he had to start from a different point of view. And to the Jews, he preached about the law and circumcision and how that doesn't save you, and Father Abraham. And so it's the same thing in our world. Kind of what's on my heart is I'm kind of vacillating with this culture and how to reach them and what do they respond to with the gospel, and what kind of venue to take the natural and move it into the spiritual, and to practice it. Actually, my work time sometimes it's practicing grounds to witnessing to people, and I like that natural. So I just wanted to bring up just natural things. You could take almost anything and bring it around to spiritual. It's just like a encouragement to me just to say it one more time, and I can work on it this week, and maybe we all can too. I in prayer meeting, Alyssa prayed about the horse ranch. Who made the horses? God made the horses. And why are they different? I mean, because there's horse language and there's horse people, and they love horses and they're passionate. They spend hours, and they even clean up after those things. I mean, no problem. But can it relate to filth and dirt and these kind of ideas? Just natural stuff that happens. Footprints in the sand. Horses leave footprints, and on and on and on. Just gazillion ideas. That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you.
All right.
But what Wolfgang mentioned about a famous pastor, that was just my pastor. He was a small-time country pastor, pastored his family, basically, and a few of us stragglers that came along with him. And he went to be with the Lord just a couple months back, Ezel Player. But last week when Dan did his demonstration with Josh, that was taking the natural and having spiritual application. Yeah. Famous.
Daniel's middle name is that.
I didn't know that actually. I knew that he was named after is he black? Yeah, the pastor.
That's cool. This is my grow share moment actually, real quick, because this song kind of has something to do with it. First, I was telling you guys about last time how we were gonna go to two things basically. We're gonna go to and do the Auburn thing coming on summertime. Once every 2 weeks, I think, is what I'm gonna do. But so that was cool, and I was like, well, I have this gift that I can do, music, sing, play a drum, whatever. So that was something that I thought about more. And the other thing was I've been having it on my heart to bring more people, and you guys are mainly in the Sunday night group, but Sunday nights to have a lot of different guest musicians, sort of like how Rob does with guest preachers and stuff. I want to be known as that church that is real open to just, anybody's talent. Like if you can play a violin, cool, come over and play. And that is growing the church to me, because we're known as the church that can do that. And if someone's looking for a church like that, they can, it'll be in the Grapevine or something. It's my thought about that. And then the other thing is there's avenues of that have been made open to me sort of recently. I don't know if Karen, I don't know if you know this, but anyway, so one of my friends died from high school, and it was cool because I got to write her a letter, and because Kathy was like, oh, I know them, and so I was like, oh, what, so it opened the door to, like, God was like, just go ahead and send her an email and let her know you're thinking about her and praying for her. So I did, and I was very scared, but she was very sweet, and so we've been talking, and I was like, hey, I wrote a poem, and it kind of made it into a song, but it's more kind of a poem. And she's like, oh, cool. And she's like, send it to me. And she didn't even hear it. And she's like, I want you to play at the at the memorial. And I was like, whoa, okay. That's going to be hard because, first of all, I haven't gone to anything like that for this guy. His name's Biggie. I haven't gone to anything yet, and I'm a little bit terrified. So I could use prayer whenever you think of me, just because I don't know how my emotions are going to be, and that's going to be difficult. And a lot of kids in there, we used to smoke together and drink and do a lot of crazy party stuff together. And yeah, they're all going to want to talk about that, I'm sure, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, what God's going to do. So it's to come. Yeah, she planned it out a month because she's still emotionally trying to get grounded. They have 3 children, 3 little girls, beautiful children. And she's beautiful, and I'm like, I don't understand it. So this is kind of the tune I wrote for that. a beautiful day. Ooh, when a ransomed soul gets to fly away. When the troubles of life seem far too strong, ooh, he's walked with us all along. Ooh, yeah, he's walked with us all along. So come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Ooh, you walk through the valley of death. Yeah, I know that in his arms there is peace and rest. When the only thing we can do is remember our God and his sovereignty. Said remember our God and his sovereignty. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And the world we walk is not our home. This world we walk is not our home. You and me, we are never alone. This world we walk is not our home. Yeah. So this world we knock is not our home. This world we walk is not our home. You and me, we are never alone. And no, this world is not our home. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Oh my God, it's a beautiful day. When a ransomed soul gets to fly away, and the troubles of life seem far too strong, yeah, he's walked with us all along. He's walked with us all along. Yeah.
Okay, next. Let's see, Summer and Angela went with Christy down to the Galt outreach on Friday night. We went there, and it was a real wonderful for us to see a lot of people that we knew. As yet, we also watched the church keeps marching on. New people I didn't know, and seeing Brandon pastoring people, and
just like a pastor does, just people with that inside track with the pastor. And he told me that he I think had 2 baptisms planned for this for today, and then there was another lady that might get baptized, but she was dealing with some fear issues and that kind of thing. That's all real exciting. Micah got up and said that he was a youth pastor and that they were raising money to take 4 kids to Centrifuge. So Summer asked his mom, or her mom, how come we don't go to Centrifuge? That's something we'd like to do. So Christy pitched that she'd like to see if that's a possibility and to have a taco dinner fundraiser for the youth. And did she say something else?
Yeah, yard sale.
And a yard sale where we would ask the churches to come in with a yard sale. So with the idea of grow, reaching in as we reach out, overcoming every obstacle. I remember one of the obstacles of yard sales was, well, what do you do with all the junk after it's here? You know, because we are in a good spot for people to come. And someone just, well, you come with a trailer and you take it on down to Goodwill or Salvation Army. Goodwill is a private business, I understand. You're making a private man rich with your Goodwill donations. But Salvation Army, you're actually helping a gospel cause. Or we could go into the storage rental business here at Bell Road Baptist Church, and we could be the moving business as people are moving in and moving out, because I just rented a storage unit, so I could use one of those storage trucks to move my piano and all that kind of stuff. I was telling Kathy, I'm always thinking about how the church could do some business in a practical way, not to make money, but to empower people. I was at a ministry called Jesus People USA in Chicago. They were from the Jesus movement, and some of the old timers might remember the Resurrection Band, later called Res Band, later just called Res. It's a communal living in the inner city of Chicago, and they house senior citizens and homeless people and feed the hungry. And they preach, and they've got a resident rock band, Res Band, but they've also parented several bands since they started in the early 70s, just living together and sharing from a common purse. Now, you don't know very many churches like that, but it's a ministry that operates with integrity and has for decades now. And one of the things that they did was they had a roofing business, a porch building business, and since they were living, like maybe 200 people in community, buying old tenement houses and fixing them up, they expanded their vision, and they had the seniors. They got a building with an elevator now, and the seniors live on the upper floors with the elevator, and the bottom floor, at least when I was there way back in the early 90s, I stayed up one night and watched that they had a rescue mission kind of thing where you sleep on the floor if you're out on the street. You could, you get in from the cold. It's cold in a winter night in Chicago. So we won't necessarily have a ministry like that ever, but we do have needs. And what will we become? Well, we'll become what we pray about. And if the Lord continues to show us a need, not just Johnny-come-lately that pops in with an idea, oh, the church ought to be doing this, and trying to operate us by guilt. Instead, because we pray and we're proactive, we already know what it is the Lord's showing us, where we need to reach out. So I'm thinking for years now about a moving business. You've heard of 2 guys in a truck. Well, I know of a couple guys. They're both Rosenhaus. It's a guy, a truck, and a trailer, and whoever they can drum up to help people move. I helped Rex Ruth move twice. I helped David Price move twice. Helped Lou Rabon move twice. Yeah. And and I don't think I helped John, but I know his brother did. Did I?
Out of the Greens.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, helped move a piano. I like the piano. Yeah. So I saw a big old truck on Craigslist, and it just happened to be down the street from me in Galt. But when you're in a church, you can surround yourself with the counsel. Have a multitude of counselors. There's safety. So I just wrote Wolfgang, because when you've got some prosperity and you have a good name and a good credit rating, you can wheel and deal and you can get good stuff. People that look at Craigslist tend to buy more than the people who don't, because you see this stuff. Oh, wow, I didn't even think of that. And I just wrote Wolfgang, and because I grew up with a truck with a hydraulic lift, and my dad took us boys anywhere and everywhere. We moved stuff. We moved a grand piano with just a pickup truck and a hydraulic lift. I know how to move a grand piano and an upright piano of any size, no problem. I know how to do it and how to work with that lift, and this truck had a lift. And I've missed having a truck. I don't like to borrow trucks from people. I've missed that. So I asked Wolfgang, he goes, well, trailers are a lot more versatile. And I said, okay, thanks. Now instead of just going, oh, that's not what I wanted to hear, I wanted him to say, yeah, go ahead, it's a good deal. Because I didn't grow up with a trailer. I had a pickup, I have a certain idea. But it saved me money. But when a thought keeps coming to you, because I know some people that just cannot get a job the conventional way. I've never been unemployed. I started working when I was 12 years old as a paper boy, and I have never been unemployed. Always can do something. But there are other people out there that probably just need. I was talking with one fellow, and I said, did you ever see Rocky? And Rocky, Rocky didn't train himself. He had a trainer, and he did whatever the trainer told him to do, in order to win the fight. And the trainer will push you harder than you'd push yourself. And I was just talking to a fellow recently. I said, last year about this time, we spent some time together, and I said, I have a vision for you that in 5 years' time, you could be off welfare, you could be prospering. 5 years. I said, but a whole year's gone by, and there's not much different. And, if I'm still thinking about ways for the church, I can do things as a private individual, but you might think, well, we can't mix church and business. Well, we do all the time anyway. If we got a little more proactive, what is it? What do people need? Well, people that are moving, for instance, do need help moving. And even if it was just a big old truck out there that said, Bell Road Baptist Church, free use of this truck, just like the storage units, free use of this truck, Well, not free use where you take it and do anything you want with it, but we'll drum up some guys. I thought even of a business that I could do in retirement. One guy, a truck, and the power of God. Or one guy in a truck and whoever else you can drum up,
God's moving.
So I want you to think about that, because it's always risky to do business with Christians. And I've only done business with Christians a couple times that I haven't gotten burned. I was telling a brother the other day, the Sandhoffs, we've done business with them several times, and we're still liking each other. But you do have to make some things clear, and don't assume. And it is a good thing to have things down in writing. But in the church, I do know JAPUSA, they call it, Jesus People USA, Chicago, a Ministry of Integrity, and they worked with a lot of floaters, just people that were just, run away from home, whatever, wind up on the streets of Chicago. In order to come into the ministry, they also joined they get put on one of the teams, the cement work team, the roof building team, could be the landscaping team, whatever. So you might want to do some research there. And I just think it's exciting what kind of future we have as we reach in and reach out, overcoming obstacles. Even the obstacle Christy brought up about the programming that goes on in a group home. Kathy and I did that, and we definitely understand it. Yeah, as soon as they get home from work, and some of the homes have some sort of government funding, and they have to put in all this paperwork. They have to chart stuff, and it's a lot of work at night. But if, instead of looking at it as an obstacle of, oh, you can't do that because of this, you can list, build relationships, and we'll do whatever door the Lord opens for us where there's an effective work. Is there somebody else who'd like to share something? Kathy, come on.
I'm wondering, are we only sharing about what's going on in Auburn?
You're one of our sent missionaries, so you can share something.
About Mexico? Okay.
Okay, so, John, it's about a recording studio. And I will be patient about this, but I've been thinking about a recording studio for at least a year, if not 2 years. And so that is my prayer. I want everybody to be praying about a recording studio, because we keep getting more and more people that need to be recorded. And I believe that with a recording studio, we could listen to our music and then hear it again like a game tape. And we're going to get better and better and better when we record it. And the problem that I have with how we're doing things right now, it's all really good. So this is my thoughts. If we don't get a recording studio right away, one of the first things we could do is have a board, Daniel, that we use, that we can mix it all. We have one channel for bass, one channel for piano, one channel for flute, you know, when flute goes there, one channel for the different vocals, okay? And then when we want to mix it, we could take that live thing and have somebody mix it. And I think it could be really sweet, because sometimes I'll be listening to the recording and there's some awesome stuff on the stuff that Christy has put together, but I've thought, oh, this would be best like if the flute was out of here and then we boost up the piano here. And we could have a lot of fun with that. And then also, along with that reaching out with this grow, is we could invite other people to come and we could record them too. And we have a pastor that's good at that type of stuff. And so we need to be thinking about what do we have here in our congregation, our giftings that we have. So how could I just say this, within a year that we have some part of my dream, that's my dream.
I have a question.
Yes.
Until we have the sound system, are you talking about kind of like recording live? Like
Yeah,
this
so if
live
we did
program?
live, then we would come up with somehow to do a board. How much would it cost to do something like a small version where we have so many channels? So you
Let me
have,
address that, Kathy.
Okay.
Now you.
Well, that uses 3 mattresses or things.
Well, basically,
No, she's talking about sound separation, and actually the board we have, we could do it, because each track has a direct out, each one. So all you have to have is a computer program that would take those tracks separately. Now, that doesn't need to complicate anything. You can still have the same mix, but you take the visual, and later you could take the computer program that has the tracks all split up by, say you got 16 live tracks going. That's just a live mix that could be mixed later and then dropped in the audio track. So it really wouldn't be any more work. And that could happen rather easily. I just need somebody with a little more expertise than me, but I already know we could, even with the existing board.
I thought the biggest problem was electrical.
Well, what we need to have as far as the buzz and the hum that we have in the system, and Wolfgang would understand this, we just need a separate ground for anything audio that is not anywhere connected with any of the ground of the light. And I know a guy that did a seminar way back years and years ago, and he said he would even just drive in certain situations, he would drive a stake into the ground and run his own ground, and that means everything that's audio is in its own separate ground. So, and we've got the German engineering that could pull that off.
Amen.
All right,
But
okay.
even-
Now, I want to share, oh, go ahead.
Even on tour though, it's if we crossed power lights, sound and the power, like for the dimmer, the controls for the lights, it would buzz also.
Yeah, but they might not have had the separate ground. First Baptist Church, Elk Grove, David Swearingen was the engineer there, sound engineer, and he showed me they did exactly that. When they built the building, they built it with sound in mind and had separate ground. If you had anything that was going to be musical instrument plugged in at all, it had to go in one of those, and they had it color coded so that you know whether you're working with that separate ground. And it was perfectly quiet, not one bit of interference, and all kinds of lights and faders and everything. So it's going to be very rare that you're going to come into that kind of situation. But when you go into like a professional television studio, you don't hear hums and buzzes and all that kind of stuff because they already know that. Now, Kathy brought up recording studio, and here's one of the things that I don't like to be a frustrated leader, and so what I don't do is get my hopes up, and that's why I was trying to challenge Pastor Doc Patton when he says, well, I'm trying not to get my hopes up, and I go, you know, why do we even say that? Because we're supposed to be the hope people. We are supposed to be hopeful, prayerful, and hopeful, and have a good vision. You know, our God will supply all your need according to your riches and glory in Christ Jesus, and He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. We sang it this morning, right? And that's just Paul, you know, giving hope. But obviously, with disappointment, sometimes we don't want to get our hopes up, but we should. And so Patrice is one of my main brainstorm persons for, we've done annually the Christmas program. She takes what Kurt decides he's going to do and she packages it a certain way. And she knows that I'll give her whatever she wants. So I don't have to use any brain power. I just get to shift over and be the techie guy. And then I take her main idea and I elaborate. She's always happy with what I give her. And that's the kind of beauty, koinonia, fellowship, I think, where there's trust, mutual trust that, it's going to be high quality. Like Christy, I really trust her. And she knows that she's only going to get better and better. Summer, as you analyze what you're doing, you go, how could I take this up a notch? You know how to do that. You got brains. You know how to do it. And if you don't, you know where to find the answers. Well, I do think since we've got the building paid off, and it's not just pipe dreaming, we could make a film to start with, just like Sherwood Baptist. Their first film, Flywheel, the only vision was, let's get it into Blockbuster video store on the shelf. But then the idea started rolling, and once they started involving people, even in the community, and something that they'd never heard of before, a church making a movie, but making a movie with the local sites, the used car place, and in this place over here, in the police station, whatever. And it's just built and built and built. And you never heard of Flywheel because it was only local and regional. They played it for 2 weeks at their local stadium like we have. And then, but then when they came out with Facing the Giants, what really made that take off was they used the Sherwood football team, and it was like Sherwood Christian Academy or something, and the name of the fictional town used the same letters. They're just real smart how they involved people. But then they got, I think it was Casting Crowns, to give the rights to use a song. And as soon as they did that, then Sony got involved, Sony Distribution. And when they got big money involved, then they went back and remixed all the audio that they had done. Because you can take it up a notch. Jebby took the album that Graham plays on, their most recent album of their band, and they sent it to Abbey Road Studios. Uploaded it in Abbey Road Studios. It cost them like $1,500 to have them mix it. But any of you who have recorded anything professionally, if you send it to like Hitville or one of these, if you look at the liner notes on your CDs, you'll see they've been mixed separately, someplace that really specializes in mixing it. And so I asked Jebby, how's it sound? He goes, man, it's incredible how it sounds. And they didn't even have to go to Abbey Road Studios.
I just had a thought when you're talking. Auburn is famous, and Forest Hill Bridge is famous. There's movies made.
Yeah.
That's
what
I wanted to interject was, down the road when we do this, we could use that.
Well, exactly. And I did that when Renita first came. I took Renita on a video shoot, and we shot the band taking musical instruments over to the No Hands Bridge or whatever that's called, and we did a little music video that greater things are yet to come in this city. And then I shot up to the Forest Hill Bridge, and then I spliced in Vin Diesel or the stuntman taking that off. Lexi watched it. I don't understand that. Why'd you do that? Well, I just did it because I could. But when we have visitors come, I take them on a movie tour. I take them downtown Auburn, where Phenomenon was shot, and I take them to the Forest Hill Bridge. And I was thinking about this. Today I did a little backstory research on Rattlesnake Dick. We went to see where the famous, he was one of the top 10 bad guys of the Old West, and he got killed here in Auburn. And there was $80,000 had been stolen from Wells Fargo, the biggest robbery, and only $40,000 was recovered. There's $40,000 worth of 1850s gold stashed somewhere in them thar hills, and I was thinking, even just today, that we could have one of these child stories where, just like, family feature films, where the kids, it's like maybe the 12-year-old, like taking Alyssa, and she's working with the other kids, and they find that there's a legend that, and they told about it today at the cemetery, that when he was shot, there was a note in his hand. They don't know whether he killed himself. He had a shot in the head, he had a shot in the heart, and there was a big shootout, and the Auburnites were involved in the shootouts. The big businessmen went on this posse, And there's Sheriff Boggs, who had animosity between Rattlesnake Dick and Sheriff Boggs. But there's $40,000 missing. And at Special Ministries Camp, I sat and watched with the campers, one of these, kids that are looking for the hidden treasure. And I was thinking, we could shoot it up at Dry Creek Road, where the kids discovered the gold. Where there used to be the stagecoach stop there on Dry Creek Road where I live. And we got these rocks behind, So I've already got some ideas for scripts, and instead of trying drumming, how are we going to have an idea? The best ideas are the ones that just come to you that, hey, this is a film that could be made. So maybe you got an idea that anybody ever see, I know you don't always go to these kinds of Jack Black movies, but did anybody ever see School of Rock?
Yes.
Okay, you see how that teacher involved everybody in the class? And you can be involved in the lights, and the girl goes, but I want to sing. When oh, really? Well, he thought he was just going to compartmentalize her over here, but she wanted to sing. And I don't know if it was lights, but something. You can be a roadie or something, but I want to sing. And then he listened to her. Wow, she needs to be a singer. And I think with a film, if you ever sit and watch the credits like Kathy and I do, we watch them. I mean, there's minutes and minutes. That's lots and lots and lots of people. There was a film shot in Galt, not in Galt, but like a Chinatown outside of Galt, and Eddie Murphy and another fellow was in it. It was called This Is the Life, or what was it called? Life. And members of our church, the Hollywood crew came up and rented their property to feed all the lighting and everybody that was there. And they rented the place for about a month. So it would sure be exciting to be involved in something like that. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up, but why not?
Pretty passionate.
Yeah.
Could probably
I
talk
have
another
I have
hour.
something else to
Well, come on.
It's kind of practical. It's something I just thought of last week because of our change in scheduling for the summer with Teen Kids ending. So I don't know who to ask her, but I was ask you. It does have to do with Praise Team practice.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, because Wednesday night we have Debbie in the nursery, and I think that she's usually let go for the summer and then picks up in the fall. But so I was thinking about Kyla and her new baby and 3 kids, and just also Debbie is she works in there, and we haven't been sure if she's a Christian or not. And
It seems to me that she is.
She
Really?
got baptized at Elevation.
really recently, like 2 months ago, she wanted to do more with the kids that were Annabelle and whoever else, one or other, or just Annabelle. So Patrice showed her, oh, we have all this Lifeway material, and if you want to do a lesson with him, yeah, I want to do a lesson with him. I don't want to just babysit him. So she actually showed her how to use the material, and she showed her and Debbie, the next week, Debbie was like, I didn't know that about Genesis or Noah or whatever it was she was teaching the kids. And Patrice came home so excited, like 3 weeks in a row. She's like, Debbie is like on fire. She's learning all this cool stuff from the Bible because she's teaching it to her Annabelle. And she goes, and Annabelle is like, well, I already know that. So, but I was just thinking of Debbie, the job, ministering to her, and also the need of Kyla and her children for Praise Team and Caitlin. And I was thinking, what about, could there be a change for summer to have Praise Team on Wednesday when Debbie's already doing childcare and the kids would all be taken care of?
Yeah, it always conflicted with choir practice. So
Right,
that's on
but we
break.
take a break. We're done next
How
week.
long you guys on break for?
Like
And-
3 months or
Yeah, all the way till September or something.
Yeah.
So it's the summer.
It's
and
always the closer you practice to Sunday, people remember it better,
Uh-huh.
and so that would be going.
Well, I was also thinking, Ben goes to Bill. Bill's going to continue to teach the Bible study he teaches, right, during the summer, I think. I think Bill is going to, he did last year. So that it will be the only thing happening here on Wednesday nights.
I like this
And
idea. because
so I'm just thinking Bill, Ben goes to Bill's class, he likes it, and it's 6 to 7. So but I was just thinking of how to make that work. Like, how could somebody keep their job, be ministered to, be ministering to our children and our
I
people?
actually function better if, like, Christy normally takes the baby, and just so you guys know, and she holds the baby, Christy Ron, while we're singing, and I'm a stress case. So I'm all for that idea.
Anyway, it's just something that was in my head, like if we could just keep her, but it would mean a change for, yeah, it's one night farther away from Sunday.
How long does she usually stay on Wednesday nights?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is she here till 8 or 8:30?
5:30.
She's 5 to 8, or 5:30 to 8:30.
5:30 to 8:30?
Yeah.
So,
That's when normally choir gets out, right?
yeah, we're done by 8:30.
Something-
So, you know, I don't know, like, I'm thinking of Ben too, and just how he's being ministered to by being in Bill's Bible study class, and that goes from 6 to 7. So I don't know if that, like, your praise team could start at 7.
I
But
only did it for an hour and a half.
it's something
We can go
to,
back to Thursdays when it starts up again.
yeah, it's something to think about for,
Something to think about.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you push your mute pedal, Carla. I-
Alicia, you need to get up right now.
Yeah.
Can you press the white pedal apparently? Alicia?
Do you,
Just step on it, the black part.
No. There you go.
It looks like it just turned on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it, yeah.
That's right.
Oh,
When
okay.
it's on, it's off.
When it's on, it's off.
It really is.
well, this last couple of months that I've been back in Mexico, some really cool things have been happening. Before, back in February-ish, I was really thinking about how I should get more involved with the deaf church, with the adults in Ensenada. So I'm going to a church where it's all hearing people. And so I had that idea and that thought more actually back even at Christmas time. And I was praying about it. As Pastor Rob kind of said this, like, with something with prayer, and it kind of connected. So you're praying for something, but you also, sometimes we get our own, like, okay, well, I need to do something about this. So I decided this particular Sunday I wasn't singing at my church, and I was going to go to the deaf church, and with the intent of going like once a month maybe, just starting to make connections with people. And so I did not have peace. And I was talking to my pastor's wife, and she's like, Alicia, it seems like that you have decided that you are going to go on this particular time, but maybe that's not what God's plan is, and you don't have peace about it. And I was like, well, that's a really good point. So I decided not to go. I told people I was coming, and I was like, okay, all right, I just won't go. And I had complete peace after that. But God is quite amazing, because when you're praying about something, He's already working on it. And it's something that's in your heart. He puts it in your heart, especially when it's something that, maybe isn't the easiest thing to do, or isn't like really like, it's not like I want a brand new car or something. And so shortly after that, I was visiting at the deaf pastor's house with his sister, and we were getting ready to have lunch, and he told me, yeah, this weekend we're having a game with the deaf Americans against the Mexican Americans here in Ensenada, and I'd like to invite you to come. And it was the last day of school, and my teacher was doing this weird palm reading thing, and it wasn't relevant to what we were learning, and I thought I could leave school an hour early. And so I went, and I had a whole entire Saturday where I got to be with the deaf people, all the way till the evening. And there was one girl visiting from Tijuana who was a former student and doesn't have any opportunity really to be with any Christians who speak her language, and it was just encouraging for her and encouraging for me. A month later, we had a new girl join our teaching class, which is unusual because we're kind of like all established. There isn't like new people who come in the program, but she had missed some certain classes when she studied back before. She's already a teacher. And started talking, and she's already had a little bit of sign language. She's already had a connection with some of the deaf, and it's not, but really not a lot, her alphabet and maybe 20 words. And she's still interested in working with the deaf, and she found out that I worked with them, and she's like, wow, it's so cool. I say, yeah, maybe you'd like to come visit sometime. And she's like, yeah. She's like, but my only day off is Wednesday. I was like, oh my gosh, that's the only day that I go to the ranch. You could come with me into my classroom, and you would have the chance to learn sign language, interact with the deaf. And so she came. Most people don't. They're like, oh yeah, the deaf are really cool, I'll learn sign language, and they never come. And so she came, and it's exhausting for me because I have to now speak Spanish and sign language at the same time.
And after 4 hours of speaking 2 languages at one time, it's tiring, but that was for her to be able to relate her language and learn a new language. And she has become for a month, over a month, and with me, she is a history teacher as well as science and other things, and so she's had things to contribute to me with her PowerPoints or YouTube videos she's found on the same thing I'm teaching. But kids have went up to her and said, "Are you Christian?" "No, I'm a Catholic." "Oh." Then another kid, "Are you Christian?" "No, I'm a Catholic." "Oh, I'll pray for you." Okay, all right. So she's really still really just wants to learn sign language. And I have a sign class that's after school in the afternoon. I've been teaching with the staff, so she comes to that. She's super picking up sign language super fast. So I was like, well, I should tell her about some more opportunity. I said, well, you know, if you want to learn more sign language, the deaf pastor teaches 2 days a week in Ensenada, which is where she's from. I said, also, if you wanted to come to the deaf church, you know, that he signs, somebody could interpret to you in Spanish. And there's a youth rally coming up this weekend, and I'm going to be inviting the deaf, and so I'll probably be interpreting if you wanted to come. So that was the first thing. And so she was so excited. In fact, she told her taxi driver, yeah, I'm going to this deaf event with all the deaf kids, and it wasn't communicated well. And she ended up calling me like, I came to where I thought was the church, but they said it was like a concert, and there wasn't any deaf people. And I was like, no, you're at the right place. The deaf just didn't come. But I'll interpret for you. So she came, and she was only able to stay until a certain time, but she was able to hear the gospel because the guy who was giving the concert did a little short salvation message before his main message on our identity in Christ and what he was really going to talk about. And it was like, wow, God, you're awesome. You put it in the short time that she could be here. She was late, she had to leave early. And I sang the songs, and she was like, wow, that is so beautiful. It's like a whole different, way of seeing sign language. Finding out that that particular church is the same building where the sign language classes are, and it's a 5-minute walk from her house. She's like, this is so awesome. I can go to the classes, and they're right here.
Is the girl deaf? Or does
She's hearing.
But she's learning something. Okay.
Yeah. So, as it's set up right now, I'm going to church with her this coming Sunday. She didn't want to go to church alone. But here, God gave me an opportunity. Oh, I missed one thing in the middle. He gave me the opportunity for a whole day to hang out with the deaf at a soccer game, and then out to Tacos, and then to Starbucks, interpreting to American and Mexican Sign Language. Crazy. And then before this girl who's been coming with me, my friend who was visiting from Tijuana said she was going to come visit her family for her spring break. So she came back, and she was going to be at church, and I said, okay, I'll come meet you. And so it turned out that without me planning anything, 1 month I'm with the deaf, the next month I'm at the deaf church with them hanging out because I'm there to meet with my friend who didn't end up showing up. And now here's another person just in the community who wants to learn sign language, and that's her motive for coming. And here I get to go, and every time I go, it's more interaction with the deaf in Ensenada. So I didn't have to plan anything. Just thinking about this as a planning, kind of, sharing your ideas. But when we share our ideas with God, He works it out. It's quite amazing, and it's a new lesson for me this year of like, well, just step back and see what He's going to do and the opportunities that He'll give you, because He'll make it happen. And 2 weeks ago, I got an email asking me to come and be a high school teacher in another state of Mexico. And then also there's a deaf junior higher in Ensenada who needs an interpreter starting next school year. And I had to say no to the high school because it was out of state and I'm still studying. But that's something that you guys can all pray about for me, is I'm just trying to determine what God wants me to do. It seems like an opportunity to be able to go into the junior high school where that's exactly what I'm studying to go do, see how it is, also be able to help a kid get an education. The biggest problem is it's 25 hours a week, and that's like crazy. I can drop the ranch, which is 12 hours a week, and potentially God is setting up this other girl who could come in and teach history once a week and give a break to the teachers, because if she keeps learning sign language during the summer and going to classes, she's going to be at a level where she can teach in sign language. And so it's possible God's working that out. I'm just trying to determine that it's just, yeah. And it's also interpreting from Spanish at junior high level into sign language, which could be crazy too.
So,
You'd learn
something.
fast.
Hmm?
You would learn fast.
Yes. I've done it before. But yeah, it's brain. But one thing I was reminding myself of this situation is that it's not like church where the pastor's preaching for 5 hours, where it's constant and you just have to always be signing. But school is interactive, and so there'll be times where he'll be working on a work page, or it's not the same as constant lecture, but it is 5 hours all at one time. So just something to pray about, but also just to encourage you guys that.
But
Pray about
another positive is it's a paying job.
It is a paying job, which is interesting as a missionary, and it's like I have to talk to the lawyer and see, is that something I can do without a work permit? And another friend was like, no, because you're doing it for a stipend or whatever, it's different legally and stuff. But yeah, that would be something that some missionaries in my realm have been talking about with how things are going with the economy in America. Missionaries might not always have support coming from the States, and so there might be like a Paul needing to supplement at least their own income. But for now, that's definitely not necessary. You guys are supporting me amazingly. It's so nice. I mean, to have a regular income and not just be like guessing, like, I don't know, maybe I'll have enough this month, maybe a month, maybe I won't. But I'm very grateful to all you guys. It's been very nice to, yeah.
Hallelujah.
And even pioneers, they help make you organize it all. So that's all cool. So.
Okay. All right. Now Kyla's going to bring a song, and we're going to have an opportunity.
I'm just little Kyla, so I never wanted to bring it up, but I just thought that's a neat idea. I always love media, and that's kind of like where my brain goes, right brain. Left brain is fried. I don't know what happened there. But the right brain is still working pretty good, and I really like the idea of a studio. That's something I've been praying for too a long time. And actually, I have a digital audio workshop on my phone, and it's $8 or whatever. And I also have a PreSonus Studio One. It's brand new, and I don't know if the church needs it. I can donate it, but little things like that. And one point to maybe spur us on to pray about that is, for me, I don't know, probably John and Sarissa might get this too, but when after you're done doing like an event, people come up to you and they go, "Oh, can I have a CD? Do you have a CD of your stuff?" No. So that would be encouraging.
Blessings fall on me.
another
Preparation for VBS, and I just keep thinking of the word expectant, just because when we're in the middle of something like VBS, it's really great because there's just all this overflow of blessing that we're receiving, just getting to see the children share what they learn and just how fully they worship God during the rallies. And yeah, we have it for 5 days in a row, so that each day kind of piles up on each other. And so I was thinking of the 5 Sundays leading up to VBS, which is about 3 weeks from now, when the first Sunday night would be, is that we can use each Sunday night as representing each day of the VBS. So it can be very simple to very involved, depending on how many people, like workers in VBS, want to help out to share, kind of like a sharing night. So it could be like a mini VBS rally in that kind of form, or it could be having the whole church actually come out there, like really encouraging them to be there for Sunday nights, because it's about sharing with them what VBS is going to look like. It'll be kind of like a sales pitch to them to get more involved in VBS, people who haven't been involved at all. And so we can have, and maybe it'll help our teachers, some that have more of an opportunity or like a strong desire to come on Sunday nights to share what they're going to be teaching in their classes. So you can have different volunteers depending on like different age groups for teachers for each of those VBS classes come up to share whichever night. Like we could assign a teacher for preschool for the first night and they could share what they're learning on that first day. For the next week, it could be a teacher from like the older grade levels doing for day 2. And we could even just make it simple as having my dad do a quick teaching on what the story is going to be for that day. And they'll get to see kind of what the drama clips are going to be too for those days. And if anything, even if it doesn't, like hopefully it'll create more participation, but I think if anything, it'll create more communication among all the staff, like the teachers and stuff.
And
excitement, yeah, because that's the whole idea too. Like VBS is already exciting on its own, but really you don't get to share in the middle of it what you're learning and what you're really hoping to share with the children and with the parents. So I think it'll just help us be more intentional. Like we do really good at investing our time on VBS, but really the prep we kind of miss out, and it's more so just because we don't realize it until we're in the middle of it that, hey, it would be really good to prepare for this. And really, Sunday night's the perfect platform for all that. It'd be really good for Lexi, and that's where I see it the most in the choreography is like, it'd be great to really get to get like a double investment out of learning that choreography where she can share it with the church, maybe people that usually don't get to see it.
In the skit.
In a skit, anything, yeah. Really good opportunities to practice all these things and just, because like I procrastinate a lot, and so it'll help procrastinators kind of like, sometimes they need to be forced into or cornered into that thing. So like Lexi, for one, she could be one who's like gonna at least every week give one of the songs. So she'd be doing 5 of the songs at least. And so she'll have a whole week to do the choreography and learn that. And then she'll get to share like, and that's the whole thing I was thinking too, throughout the week leading up to it, if we're really committed to just like picking apart this one day for the whole week, we can kind of, it's like BSF, getting to share like what God's showing us for each of those days each week. Or like crafts too. So it could be very simple, or it could have, depending on how many people want to share, like we could have crafts, choreography, the drama, skits, or like a mini VBS rally, just so they get a feel for what it's going to be like. Because yeah, when we're doing a theme like that, we might as well just really prepare for it, because it helps us get past all just the things that are thrown at us, and helps us kind of have a clear mind of, like that's how I like, when everything's rush, I can't like slow down and focus on what I'm trying to do, or what I'm kind of, God's trying to show me. So it would really help clear things up for the teachers. And yeah, and I think it'd be a good opportunity, if anything, for the teachers just to be united, like have clear communication of what is going to be taught, and like, so yeah, and I think that's what I like too. I think it'll help connect the teachers more, and just be excited, like you were saying about sharing like what they're hoping to teach each other. They can like, maybe it'll bond the relationships of the church to the church members.
Sounds great.
So with that, one of my
two of my thoughts is, one is, I'm terrible with decorating, and I assume that maybe there's other people that are terrible about
Yeah.
decorating. So this way, we could share all of our.
That's what, if anything, it'll be a good resourcing opportunity, because the only times I usually can see us asking for crafts or something is Sunday mornings, when there's already a whole bunch of
I can tell you
stuff.
this year's theme is detective.
Detective, yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of decorating.
Yeah.
Because it's more about the drama of the detective.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
So,
But
yeah.
so figuring out how to make this place look.
Look, yeah.
Last year
looked
we just
apart.
had a couple.
Yeah, tracks
So,
on the ground.
and then the other thought is about, I never get my money in on time for a shirt or anything like that, so maybe we could kind of think about, like, what do we wanna look like? Cause it would be good for all of us to look like we're participating.
Yeah.
And I don't always feel like I'm participating well, so.
And I guess that's the whole thing, is like forming a stronger bond of like a clique of like, it's almost like a camp week, a week of camp where you're trying to form your teams, you know?
Yep.
And yeah, if it's not resourcing for decorations, it'd be resourcing for crafts or whatever. Like if someone is saying, this is like really a need that I've been thinking about for this day, then someone might go, okay, well that's perfect because I have those things and we can use that.
Question. So you're talking sort of like amping up the week
Yeah,
to come?
amping- yeah.
Okay, so my thought is, I'm doing the skit, I think this year, but me and Patrice are kind of rewriting it, making it, instead of 2 characters like they've been doing the last 4 years, make it 3, maybe even 4. But my thought would be, if we could like record ourselves introducing the characters, sort of like or even do a live thing on one of the Sundays. I know you guys used to do skits on Sundays, but we could even like introduce the characters, like, and here's our, or just do like a quick little skit. The kids would love that, and so would Special Ministries and everybody
And,
else.
and like you were
I
saying,
would
Dylan,
so do
when
that.
is the Teen Kids and all that ending? Is that just in
Next week, I
next
think.
week? And so that's what I'm saying too, is there will be opportunity to, if we wanted to prepare for, like if we wanted to pre-record a skit, or just make it a very simple thing, and make that part of our presentation on a Sunday night or something,
Do we have-
however we want to do it.
Do we have 2 lapels?
Ooh, good.
I always know that
Maybe.
I always know when we do live skits, the sound is the issue is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like you can never hear, and it's like supposed to be like funny. Kind
No,
of
that's true, and a lapel would.
And like if we had that, you could hear
Yeah,
it
because
well.
we're always
And
up
if we
there.
don't, all we would have to do is purchase one.
And then I had an idea. I don't know what people think. Is what about doing the music for the rally live? Is that a good idea or is that a bad idea? I don't know.
Oh, like live
Yeah,
instruments.
instead, because I always feel like the videos are kind of stiff.
Mhm.
That's what I feel like. It's like, oh, let's go to the track 2.
Well, I was thinking if you're gonna do these kind of things, like the 5 Sunday nights before it actually
Yeah.
starts, would be, the sooner the better you could record something, you
Yeah.
can put it out on Facebook as an invitation, say, look, this is what we're doing.
That's true,
right?
yeah, for the
Yeah,
parents to
that's
come
a
if
good
they want to
idea.
check it out.
And then also I was thinking Sunday morning, so Sunday morning to tell us about what we're gonna do Sunday night.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Were you planning on, is your idea to like have this a part of like this time, like Sunday night
Yeah.
worship time? Cause I really, like maybe to add on, the last couple of years with VBS really felt the need to have like more like discussion meetings set
Yeah.
aside specifically for VBS.
Yeah.
Cause like a lot of us, we do it every year and we're really comfortable with it, but I've just felt the last couple of years there's been a real lack of communication.
Yeah, like it'll just.
You know, like
disconnect.
me and Kyla will communicate on one idea, and me and Kathy will communicate on one idea, but it's not all in one big thing, so we're all kind of disconnected.
You can get the leaders
and I
of
just know
each
that last
area.
year, like, there was a lot of issues with, like, just kind of the scheduling and stuff because of lack of communication,
Yeah.
because I think everybody's kind of
And I think
comfortable.
what-
And maybe
what-
that's something I should bring up to Robin.
And that's
Yeah.
mainly
To have-
my whole objective of
We
that.
used to have great
Yeah, that
groups.
would alleviate a big.
And I think the whole idea is that this will smooth out any
Yeah.
kind of
'Cause-
bumps, or like you said, it'll go, hey, we don't want to go with that skit, we'll make our own that's even better, that
I like
fits Mill
the
Road.
idea of Sunday nights because, Robin came in with a heart to really keep it going at a time when VBS didn't have much leadership. And I know that we had meetings that nobody attended. We had luncheons, we had breakfasts, we did it, and people just didn't come. So it went through a transition, and Robin has done, her great part in administrating and getting materials out, but she's not into that. But I think the Sunday night idea is
Excuse him.
Have a motion to adjourn.
Oh yeah, so the whole and that's the whole thing is like I don't want this to be something we dread to come to like a
Yeah,
like
this
I want it
should
to be
be
like
further
Grow.
Well, that's what
That's a good
the reason I wanted Grow to be like this tonight is because I thought it was too much like a boring business meeting a month ago, and so I wanted, that's why I listed it as Grow Worship, because I wanted some songs. I got really ministered to tonight with Kyla's new song and all that. So, but I have found VBS meetings traditionally to be quite boring, a big waste of my time, because I kind of like just tell me what to do and, hand me the materials. So we just have to make a choice. When Kyla says, I want to reach out and have this be the church where we can invite musicians, then do we just drop that for 5 weeks and not have Kyla and Sarissa doing their thing and we just do a VBS meeting on Sunday night? Or do we spiritualize the VBS stuff? We still have 15 minutes of worship led by Sarissa or led by Kyla on their night. And then we package our VBS so that it's not boring, so that if Shannon showed up with a friend like she did last month, that, well, I really got something out of it because it wasn't. But if it's going to be bantering, talking, I'd rather the people that want to talk about crafts and can I get popsicle sticks from you? Do that on your own time and not
That can
put all the
Well,
rest
that's
of
what I
it
was saying
through
with
it.
all that is you can spend the week on Facebook on the church page or make your own separate page for VBS.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not
talking
really
about
into
the
the
day.
Sunday nights being about crafts or sounds.
Yeah.
Or
That's what
Yeah, but when
But-
Dan first
like
brought up the
turning
idea to me,
this
it was more like you could take the theme of night one
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we have somebody
Yeah.
do it, but have it be
Yeah.
succinct and have it be in the
I think you were saying
context
is
of
maybe
worship.
just maybe one or two.
Yeah,
Right.
just
Not making every Sunday night.
It doesn't even
no,
have to
I
be
just to
didn't
get
Sunday.
together
turn a
and
Sunday night
just
into
kind
a
of clear out
meeting.
some issues.
We
tiny
could
as
even
they
do a
Yeah.
portion, like you could just
Oh.
have a portion of like the main theme for day one, the main theme for day two, main theme for day three. And then that would spur on, then that week we could even have talking about VBS and how to apply that theme for that day.
I
It's
do
just,
think-
How is it
it's
gonna
just
relate?
5 weeks, and I don't know the answer. Like, should they continue to switch, or should
Well,
they
like,
just be?
I think
If
they
John-
should, because otherwise you lose the momentum. But if we do that, if we have a worship experience, then we should, we just package it in such a way so that it's not boring and long and drawn out. And, because we can do that. You just have to plan that. And I do think our church probably does wing most of VBS. And so, when I liked the second try of having special ministers camp, I didn't really catch that because I was running somewhere during the video.
We could also communicate via Facebook.
Yeah,
about
sure.
it.
Yeah, I just had,
John.
because I was specifically thinking in my mind last year, I think it was the second to last night on the schedule, there was supposed to be a time at the very end where we were all meeting in the Worship Rally Center, and all the teachers had brought their classes in, but nothing was going on. So I went out to ask Robin, and she's like, I think Pastor Rob's doing something. So then I went to find Rob, and he was like,
I think Robin's doing something.
I don't know, and it just seemed really
So she just copied last
kind of
year's schedule and didn't look at it or
disorganized,
something.
and there's parents there, and I was
That's
just
back
Well,
in
kinda
the spot.
that's a good
sorry,
point because
like,
and
it
I
just
can touch
seemed
on it
really-
for
Maybe you went from too many meetings to no meetings.
So, but what you're saying is the whole point too of it, because we get to the last day when it's all about evangelizing the whole family, and so instead of having to chase them down last minute and catch them, we're all kind of prepared. We're all of the same mind, going, okay, we got all
Everybody knows
things.
what's going on.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I remember when VBS, back in the day. I remember when we actually went out and we went canvassing. And I know some people don't believe in canvassing, but it's like, why couldn't we do on Sunday nights is actually just go, instead of staying here talking about issues, whatever, isn't it more about just getting more kids here?
Amen. That's why
I think we're
Facebook is
talking
good.
Like, couldn't we use Sunday nights just to go out since everybody uses this time anyways? Is that a bad idea?
The thing is we're talking right now, what's going on is we've got all different gifts in this church. And so one is thinking of evangelism, one is thinking administratively, one is thinking that's boring, I wanna get more into the teaching lessons. And really, we all have great ideas, but we just need to do a little bit of everybody's thing.
Well, like John, we could do Saturday night, and then we're here
All I'm
Sunday
saying
night to
is
talk
that
about how it
everybody
went.
comes on Sunday nights.
Because I'm thinking of
Yeah.
what you're talking about, Dan, as a teacher, a lot of times we wait till the last minute. When I was just recently in my church, we did a teacher training thing, is teachers need to digest what they're teaching before they teach it,
Oh, yeah.
so that they're passionate about it and it's meant something in their life
It's not
first.
just mental.
So if they're, in a sense, they're having to do something ahead of time,
Yeah.
then it's going to happen.
If you know, you like Danielle knows, oh, I got a week 2, I've got to present what I'm going to do on night 2, so she might crack her materials open
Well,
a
and
few
she
weeks earlier.
she did perfect today because you guys are going to New Zealand, so you were showing who's taking over your class? Teresa?
I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
so you
well,
just-
I'd like to adjourn this Grove
Can I just say
meeting.
this one thing? So I was thinking that like how you do BSF stuff, so couldn't you do on your sermon could be centered around day 1 for that
Well,
week?
I could give some thought to that. I don't
Just
know for
idea.
sure. Yeah, just an idea. So what I'd like to do is move into prayer. Let the Sandoffs lead if they need to. You don't usually hang around for prayer.